Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this JV game at the SLUH Tournament. Today, Salette will be facing off against the St. Louis University High JV. I'm Elijah Hall, and I'm here today with Father Carlisle. Father Carlisle, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Eli. Doing well. We just enjoyed Salette's first match of the day, the 10 a.m. kickoff against St. Thomas Aquinas. Turned out to be the games are short today, but well fought. Well fought, pretty much even. They put one across, and we didn't, so we lost 7-0. But we got 2 more games to keep getting better. We got St. James later on today, and then we got Father Ryan tomorrow at noon, so hopefully you're able to tune in for that. But right now we're getting ready here for a JV match. JV is always it's always a mixed bag. You don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes teams say their JVs are bad, and they turn out to be basically like a bunch of juniors who are huge. And then, we bring some juniors, and it turns out that the JV is all a bunch of freshmen, and then we stomp them, and it's very hard to calibrate. But today it looks like we were told that these JV matches will be mostly freshmen and sophomores, so it's kind of a frost-off match. I think we have 1 or 2 of our smaller and less experienced juniors out there. John Bronner out at fullback. Besides that, this is all sophomores and freshmen. And it should be more or less the same for SLUH.
All right. It looks like Salette will be kicking off to SLUH. Thomas Mackin.
So Salette is, they have the wind. The wind is with them for the first half. So hoping to use that advantage, keep the ball in the Baby Billikens' end. So SLUH is a Jesuit university, St. Louis University, and this is St. Louis University High School. So it's the boys' high school that's attached to the university, and their mascot is the Baby Billikens, as you can see at the center field there, the Billiken.
I think a more proper term would be the Junior Billikens, but
oh yes, the Junior Billikens. Well, you got the freshmen out here, the Baby Billikens. So Salette right off the bat, they kick down and they get possession, and then lose it on the poach. We had the ruck entirely won, but they had their hands in.
Well, looks like we got the penalty.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And they get to Seamus Hanlon.
Ball goes out. Thomas Mackin loses it backwards. Salette secures the ruck. I would say probably the greatest strength of this group of small or younger guys is their rucking. Their support is excellent, and their rucking is very secure. They
are very fast to ruck. As we saw in the St. Ignatius game, their C-side, even though they were very unexperienced, and the St. Ignatius team were very good. And it looks like Seamus Hanlon puts down a try. A very quick try from Salette. Back to as I was saying, the St. Ignatius game, the C-side was having very good rucks, even though they were a lot smaller than the St. Ignatius team. But they were able to keep pushing, and they were quick to ruck. So there were very few penalties and very few steals. But then again, great try by Seamus Hanlon, putting it down right off the bat.
Yeah, you'll see with this JV squad, they're very good at maintaining possession. When they do go into contact, they have their support right behind them, so they're unable to. The other team's unable to get the poach. I thought on that penalty that they had gotten one, but he changed the direction of his arm there, so I'm not sure what exactly that call was. Looks like Marco Cruz is short on the first conversion, so Salette goes up 5-0 right out of the gate here, and they will receive. SLUH will be kicking against the wind on this kickoff, but Salette has the sun to contend with, right in their eyes, fielding this kick.
They just get a hope that the kick is low and not insanely high, so that they don't have to stare right into the sun, because they cannot wear sunglasses on the field. And it is a low kick.
Oh, there it is. It bounces, taken by Patrick McDonald.
He breaks 1 tackle, 2 tackles, and it's finally brought down.
There's that support. You see immediately we got 3 guys right there rucking. Very secure.
Thomas Mackin at 10, Andrew Sick at 13.
Andrew Sick, his first year playing rugby. He didn't play last year. He was dealing with a non-rugby injury, and this is some of his first rugby reps. He's playing outside center today. Oh, and we have a penalty to La Salette.
Looks like collapsing the ruck.
Yeah, diving in there, not keeping your own weight. Eli, it's a little easier broadcasting over here without the PA announcer. You can kind of hear yourself.
You know, you can still hear the PA announcer from the other field. It's not as loud, but
he does a very good job. It's a very good.
He does.
It's a very good feature of this tournament. The La Salette preparing for their first lineout. I don't think they'll have quite the level of sophistication that we saw from the varsity with that new added wrinkle of the scrum half coming in as a second jumper. But hopefully they're able to maintain possession and to produce a clean ball either out of the maul or else a clean ball straight out the back.
They throw it directly in to the first front jumper, and he runs it in.
There comes Henry Betts, offloads to Andrew Sick. Working up the middle, keep possession, and out it comes.
Andrew Sick is a very powerful back. He also has a speed, just like the little
Marco Cruz.
David Martin.
Bronner. Brogan Hanlon playing in front of his family, and he scores.
Brogan Hanlon for the try. Oh, that name is so fun to say.
Yeah, Eli, we know you. You love whenever the Hanlons do something, you can bust out your Irish accent.
Even though I have no Irish in me, so. But that doesn't matter.
Doesn't mean it's not fun to say.
It is very fun to say. But it's going to be a tough kick here for Marco Cruz, it being very far and very close to the sideline.
Yeah, so you look back, that try basically started with, SLUH committed the penalty. We kicked for touch. We secure the line out. The ball comes out. And Andrew Sick with a nice crash up the middle drew in the defense, and then quick off of that ruck. There was a bad pass out by Saulo with that left hand, maybe into the wind a little bit, but taken cleanly by Marco, who's short again on the kick. Taken cleanly by Marco out to Bronner, and then the overload was just Hanlon was in pretty cleanly.
For that kick, I think it's just the wind, because the wind is against him when he's kicking in that direction. So that'll push the kick back. And Marco does have a good boot. Plays soccer for most of his life. Very good at it. And we're going to have Coach Vitry on this broadcast. And Father Carlisle will be interviewing him and asking him some questions. So I'm going to hand my headset off to Coach Vitry and enjoy.
All right, Eli, thank you. Yeah, we welcome the head coach of the La Salette program. Coach Vitry came to the school. This is his third year being here now. He came to discern a vocation, and he found that his vocation was to do strength and conditioning and to take over the varsity program. Apparently, I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but we are very grateful to have him. He coached as an assistant for me the 1 year that I headed up the program, and then seeing his natural aptitude for coaching as Anthony Carlisle breaks a long run, but it looks like they got his foot and they secure the ruck. Great aptitude for coaching, and likes rugby and is learning the game more and more each year, helped a lot by Father Bevan. And the program's really coming into its own, Coach. What would you say, as you sit here and watch the freshman and sophomore, what would you say as head coach of the program are looking for from these guys today? What in their development, what are you looking for as your future varsity players?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so like you said, anything below our varsity level is development for us, and we've done a lot of work to really get these guys to understand that we care more about their skill development than about necessarily just them winning the games here. But
okay,
I want to see them. The biggest thing I want to see is these guys just go out there with some confidence and play. Right, a lot of these guys, they do things technically very well.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned earlier, especially these younger guys, their ruck support is phenomenal. I mean, they just get to the ruck so quickly.
Yeah, I've heard the feedback from the varsity practice where they're the JV, they practice as well. As Father Bevan was telling me that, it's one of the things they do sometimes even better than the varsity.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's really good to have in practice, to have the varsity guys having these guys to bang up against.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really good for the program to have the younger guys really push them in the practice, makes them a lot better. But I want to see these guys go out there and make decisions on their own. Right, there's always multiple decisions that can be made. Right, there's never one correct decision, and sometimes I think they get crammed into a box. And I think they have to do something. I have to make this decision. I have to pass the ball to this guy.
Yeah.
And to kind of get them to see the field and see all the options that are available to them and be able to make decisions on their own.
Yeah. Speaking of options, Bronner fields it in the backfield and tries to take the end around to the left, but the SLUH player takes him down. La Salette maintains possession, comes out to the backs. Henry bets up the middle, and he loses the ball forward. That's going to be a scrum to the Billikens. How have you, Coach, now that we're entering into the third year of this feeder program, at the varsity level, so the guys that you do get, what are you seeing now from your seniors who won the state championship in Illinois with the Seaside under Coach Lanthier 2 years ago? How are you seeing that pay off now at the varsity level, that experience and that development that young?
I mean, what I would say is that a lot of them have experience playing in pressure scenarios.
Okay, yeah.
Right, so Fitzpatrick played in the state championship as a sophomore.
Yep.
Right, it was the first year I was here coaching with you on the JV.
Yeah, he's captain of that team.
Absolutely, and they have some experience playing in some tight games, and so we'll go play some of these big teams, and it's not the first time they've been there.
Yeah.
And so I would say that's kind of an intangible that's often overlooked in coaching. Right, there's the technical aspects. There's the we got to run our overs and our unders lines, and we got to run our set piece plays and our lineouts and whatnot. But something that's not often I think given enough credit is just that experience of being in pressure scenarios. Even the guys coming out of basketball season playing underneath Coach Rustio.
Yeah.
Right, like that intangible of just having been in certain environments.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very noticeable when you.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's still a human being who's got to execute the X's and O's, and
absolutely.
What's going on in between the ears is often a big factor.
Hardest thing to coach.
Yeah.
Hardest thing to coach.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's very tough. It's challenging, at the lower levels to get them that experience because you can run practice all day for the little guys, but that's missing, and so being able to. To be able to play in the Illinois Seaside and to be able to get them those reps, I have to agree. It's what we've seen from the sidelines as well. That really paying off.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially these guys, to get it through to them that they need to go out there, like I said before, make decisions and make mistakes and say, okay, hey, maybe I shouldn't have done this one here, or I didn't see these options here, and to be okay going for it and kind of coming up short. Yeah, that's a real learning experience.
Like they just did there. We saw some a little bit of flair there with the offloads. It didn't amount to anything, but some what you would maybe say are a little bit riskier plays. Going down into contact, popping the ball up, trying to keep the defense on its heels. So you would say like something like that on the outside is something you'd like to see them trying to create a little bit and take play into their own hands.
Yeah, absolutely. They have to be able to take risks. I mean, you can't win games if you don't take any risks. If we just sit here and play it safe and just do things, I'll say quote unquote by the book, technically correct, without any risk taking, you can't win games.
Yeah, that reminds me of in coaching basketball. Oh, as Bronner takes it out the outside.
Well done.
Beautiful catch by
Marco
Cruz. Did he get it down? Oh, he knocked it on.
Knocked it just before there.
Passes a little low from Bronner.
A little low, but even here, right? Now they're deep in their zone. They have an opportunity here, even though that's unlucky there from Cruz, right? Maybe should have been a try, but they need to keep the pressure on here now, right? We're deep in their zone. This is one of those moments where, hey, that's unlucky, but let's get the next one. Let's keep it on them here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, we're still in a great position.
Yeah, and so that knock on into the try zone by the offense gives the defense a let's call the goal line drop. It's a drop kick from inside your own goal, and it favors the offense. Beautiful support from Bronner. There he goes. Oh, and he got a forward pass from Brogan. But still, playing with aggression.
Absolutely.
You'd love to see from Bronner there. He sees the play developing and goes and does something.
Yeah, he's really seeing the field
isn't just passive and someone else has the ball, so we'll let him do what he can, and then maybe I'll get involved later. Yeah, what you were saying about mistakes, it reminds me of something when I coached the JV basketball. it's this idea. It was actually the head coach for John Wooden when he played at. He was a famous coach from Purdue. Weird name, Piggy Lambert. But he used to tell his teams that the team that makes the most mistakes wins. And now there's different kinds of mistakes, obviously. Stupid mistakes, preventable mistakes means you lose games. But his point was that, the team that goes out there and plays with aggression and, takes the game into their hands, they're going to make mistakes because they're, putting themselves out there, but they're also most likely going to end up winning because they're playing with the most aggression and energy. Speaking of aggression and energy, Henry Betts, yes, takes the offload on the outside from some free play there. Right? The fullback goes into contact, offloads, and then another offload later. Henry Betts is free down the sideline for the try.
And you love to see that from the young guys playing with a little bit of chemistry there. Seeing the field, seeing where the space was, right? We try to get these guys being able to see where the space is and exploiting that, and he did a great job there doing that. But, yeah, absolutely on that mistakes point, right? John Wooden, he's talking about this, and yeah, there's definitely different kinds of mistakes, right? Am I making mistakes because I'm playing timid and, I don't want to drop the ball, or I don't want to make a bad pass and I'm losing focus, or, things like this. That's different than, say, we're going for it like you described, right? We're taking the necessary risks in order to win, and, okay, this one didn't work out. I know I remember watching a Super Rugby Pacific League, a championship game. I think it was from 2 or 3 years ago. And the team that was winning at halftime had a higher error rate, but they were dogging the other team. The other team just couldn't hang with them. They were absolutely dogging them. And so, they had more, more knock-ons and whatnot. But if you watch the game, it was because the pace they were playing at was blistering, and they were running all over the other team. And they end up winning by, I think, a couple of tries. The other team just couldn't hang with them the whole game. So that's Wooden's point on the mistakes is we have to take risks, and risk implies basically that sometimes it's not going to work out in your favor. But you got to keep playing through that.
Yeah, and that's another. We're kind of touching in a bit on the mindset front here, which I know you've been doing a lot of work with that with the boys. But and again, from my own experience in basketball, we end up talking about this a lot. But guys they'll get so in their head they'll be paralyzed to and worried about making mistakes. And if they make a mistake, it's like that's the end of it. And we talk about it's like, guys, like Steph Curry shoots 40% from three, like the greatest three-point shooter of all time. That means he misses 6 out of 10. Do you really expect to go out into the arena, to go out between the lines, whatever sport it is, and have only good things happen? That's absurd.
That's crazy.
Even the best players, baseball, you hit 300, you're in the Hall of Fame. There's bad things happening are baked into it, and you've got to mentally be able to handle that. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that at all, but I know you work with the mindset, and that's definitely a big issue.
Yeah, definitely. Even to go back to a baseball example, right? Even a pitcher that throws a perfect game. I mean, there's undoubtedly a couple of plays in that game where his fielders made fantastic plays because he threw a bad pitch. Great catches or whatnot. I mean, at some level, he threw a ball in one of the at-bats, right? So he didn't, perfect is maybe not a totally accurate term. Right? But I try to get the boys to understand, right? You make the mistakes, and sometimes they get frustrated, and what happens is they shut off.
Okay.
They shut off. They shut down. Instead of using, usually what I say to them is, that frustration, that little bit of anger, right? You got an energy boost to now overcome the mistake in the next play, and you use that effectively. It's a huge point. Yeah. And what I notice is really simply just that they often shut off when they make mistakes. And they have to be able to play through that and use to their advantage. I mean, if you can imagine a team that every single time they made a mistake, they started to play a little bit harder, that's a really hard team to beat.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Yeah, and to change gears a little bit here, Saulo Cruz with the offload. There's your flare you're talking about. Andrew Sick picks it up, brings it back inside, and he offloads we know he's going to do.
Well done.
Outside to McDonald.
Hit it. Great.
He fakes it, and he's in the try zone.
Fantastic play there. Fantastic series of play.
The PA announcer is commenting on Saulo's one-handed offloads.
Maybe a little cheeky from Salette Cruz, but it worked out in this favor.
Hey, we'll take it. None of that works without support.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you saw, by the time McDonald got into the try zone there, he had another 3 guys he could have passed to, but he didn't need to. That's just excellent support from the freshman and sophomores.
Pick from him there to take it in himself. And that to me, we play a game in practice called AFIs where, what I just saw in that series of play, that's essentially how we put them in, small-sided games, and they play like that, little offloads. if you get tackled, it's a turnover, right? To try to get them to work exactly what you just saw there.
Okay.
Offload, supporting, not going to ground, keeping the ball alive, trying to just keep the pace and the pressure on the other team, and that's a great series of play. That's really good to see.
Yeah, shifting gears a little bit before we get into halftime. Do you have any instant reaction to the big game against St. Thomas Aquinas that the varsity just played, losing 7-0? I mean, we had our, we have our comments and analysis as we broadcast to try to give a little bit of insight. But yeah, we have the coach here. What's the takeaway for the team?
The biggest takeaway for me was that they just came out flat, and they ran out of time in the end there. So in the second half, they really turned it on. They really started to apply a lot of pressure to them. And I think we saw a big change in the momentum of the game once the boys started to do that. And yeah, I mean, basically what I said to the boys was just that you came out flat, and if you had come out hitting hard from the beginning, I think that's a totally different game. Obviously, it's a good game, right? A close loss to a very good program. I think St. Thomas Aquinas was at 6th in the rankings just before coming into this weekend. So it's a good program, but I think they proved in that second half that they could play with them. And yeah, the biggest thing for me was they just didn't turn it on until the second half. And at some level, if you only play a half, then what can you do?
What did you see from the back line, which was largely reworked coming into this game? A lot of guys in new positions. Now, granted, there's a lot of guys who can play all those positions, but I know Liam Bentz playing at the varsity level at fly half was a big change for the first time. What's your takeaways from that?
Yeah, I thought he did really well at fly half. I think he kept the ball maybe a bit too much, right? Not getting the ball out to the rest of the back line. But he was trying to exploit gaps, coming straight off the ruck that he saw there. Kind of got jammed up a few times, but he played hard. Even he's man of the match for that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was man of the match for that game.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I thought it was a good first game for him at fly half. He sees the field very well, probably the best of anybody on our team.
Okay.
He just sees weaknesses in the other team, understands how to exploit and exploit them. I would say better than anybody else. That's why we put him at fly half. But do you think he'll be staying there for the foreseeable future? Or? For the foreseeable future,
I mean, we never know, but what's that?
Yeah, for the foreseeable future, I think he'll be staying there. Like you said, we moved a lot of guys around, try to see, what chemistries work the best, what guys work very well together. But the fact that they can all slide into different positions is a huge perk for them.
Yeah, so I do want to ask you that question, and we were talking about this a little bit on the broadcast, just about that fact that some of those guys were in new positions. What's the logic there as a coach? Because it could maybe be argued that, hey, you want guys to get, as Andrew's sick, looks like he's going in for another try here. Doesn't even need to offload it. Very good work out of that ruck there for
he's done very well at outside center.
Yeah, so my question is, what is the logic there? What are you looking for, as opposed to maybe the school of thought that would say, put a guy in a position and keep him there so he can learn the position and grow and really, be like a great fly half, for instance, instead of if he's kind of in and out or inside center, outside center, any of those things. You seem as a coach, you and Father Bevan seem to move guys around more rather than stick them in one position. What's the thought behind that?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that, as we move farther on down the season, that shifting around will certainly become less.
Okay. So it's kind of more of a preseason-ish, like in the early season friendlies, kind of trying to see where things settle and what the best options are.
Absolutely, but you also never know what's going to happen. So for example, Lewis Dittman, we had him at 12, and he's out for this game, right?
Okay.
So somebody else has to slide into a different position. We actually had planned on playing him with the forward pack for this weekend.
Okay.
And then obviously he took an injury during practice, but you see it a lot. Even at the professional level, guys will play fly half, and another game they're in at 15. Guys will be playing scrum half, and then another game he's in at 8.
Okay, yeah.
Right, and so guys can slide around and play in these different positions, even if one is, we'll say their main position.
Yep.
They have the skill set to be able to move somewhere else.
And and with rugby, so the horn goes, but it's the ref's time, so this will play out. Oh,
yes, good play.
And he knocks it on. Can you get to it before it goes out? Oh, and the ball goes out of bounds. Laszlo was playing advantage there, which is why they kicked, and they're going back to take that penalty. Yeah, and I think, would you say that, for, I don't know, put a percentage on it, 70-80% of rugby is, it's not those, it's not those set pieces where, you're too position specific. If you talk about like a lock, well, a lock is only a lock because of what he does in the scrum. Like the rest of the time when they're out here playing, like, it's a lot of the same thing from every player.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the positions are only really specified in certain, set pieces.
And
it would seem, sorry to cut you off,
absolutely.
it would seem that the more that a guy can do everything, if you have a team of guys who can do everything, you're going to be much better.
Yeah, definitely. Even off of the set pieces, we talk about principles of play, and we'll talk about a couple of them. I've talked about one already. Is just finding the space.
Yeah.
So often the space is on the outside of the field, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's there, right? They might leave a gap in their back line, 12, 13 channel, and so we're going to exploit that space. And so if our set piece is to say, we run a loop with the 10 and the 12, and then they run a switch, but the 10 has a huge gap in that, between that 10-12 channel. Well, he shouldn't just run the set piece when the space is right there, right? He's going to exploit that. That play just gives you, a framework to operate off of, and then you play within that. You kind of have guardrails, so to speak, and then, within that play. And some of the boys, they struggle with that, right? We have to run the set piece exactly this way, and that's not the case. That's not accurate. And so, and then another principle would be just to apply pressure. It sounds very simple, but you can do that in a variety of ways. Quick rucks or kicks, right? To have them have to feel the kick, right?
Make the defense uncomfortable,
with guys, running onto them at pace. And so, like I said, from any one situation, there's multiple options. There's multiple right answers, and to get them to understand that and to exploit that effectively is a difficult task. But I think we've seen in the Seaside here do a very good job of that.
Yeah, it seems to be a productive far for them.
Absolutely.
All right, Coach. Well, it's been great to have you on. I'd love to keep peppering you with questions here, but I think you have to go prepare for your second game of the day against James back over at the main field. So we'll let you go here. And as La Salette goes into halftime against SLUH JV up 29-0, we'll take a break just for a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere, and I'll be back with our main announcer, Elijah Hall, in a couple. Thank you.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second half. La Salette versus St. Louis JV. And right now, La Salette's up 29-0. And I'm back with Father Carlisle.
Yeah, thanks, Eli. We had an enlightening conversation with Coach Vitri. It's very good to be able to talk to him and get some insights from his head coaching position. He'll be back, actually, with you. I got another interview, got some other questions lined up for him for the second JV game, which is after the upcoming varsity game. Coach Vitri will be back as one of the broadcasters. I have to hit the road to head up to Kingsford Heights. As La Salette gets started here with the secure possession. They're going against the wind, so it'll be a little tougher kicking. But, they field the kick, go into contact, produce it out of the ruck, and out it comes.
We got some strong rucking here from La Salette. And a high tackle penalty on SLUH Baby Billikens.
Thomas Mackin looks like he's gonna kick for touch. We might see the first or the second line out from La Salette. Oh, nice kick for touch. A little bit into the wind.
Father, would you like to explain the advantages for kicking to touch for all those who do not know?
Yeah, of course. So when you get a penalty, you see the ref's arm go up in a 45-degree angle. That means the other team's committed a penalty. Whichever direction he's pointing at, that's the team that gets it. And then the way they restart play is by kicking through what's called the mark. He'll put his heel in the ground at the place of the penalty. And you can kick through by kicking for points. You can kick through by just tapping it into your own hands. And you can kick through by punting. And when you punt, you're able to kick it straight out of bounds and get a line out at that spot, which La Salette does now. Won by Ben Blood, taken by Joseph Cadano, and La Salette is mauling. And the advantage of kicking for touch is that you can pick up a ton of meters as Anthony Carlisle rips the maul there and gains some meters off the back. Secure possession.
Looking for some back play here. Here's Henry Betts, gets it to Thomas Mackin, and gets it to John Bronner. Out to the wing, J.P. Egbat-Perrone, who's burning it down the sideline and goes down for the try.
Beautiful backline movement there. You see all the dummy lines where the guys run and then the pass comes behind them. Freed up J.P. on the outside. It was untouched into the try zone.
Speed. He's from Washington, D.C.
And La Salette wastes no time coming out of halftime, putting more points on the board. And I think JP came on as a sub at halftime, so he also wastes no time getting involved in the action. But as I was saying, kicking for touch off of a penalty, if you have a good kicker, you can advance the ball 20, 30, 40 meters. And then if you have a secure line out, we talked about this a little bit with the varsity. It ended up being a factor. They stopped doing that and started doing the quick touches. You're able to pick up, massive chunks of yards and in essence, flip the entire field. You'll see in the professional or at the world level, every time there's a penalty, almost 90% of the time, they will kick for touch, and because their lineouts are automatic. So basically, if you commit a penalty, you're not just giving up possession of the ball, you're giving up 40 yards of territory, and you're giving the other team the ball coming out of a lineout 40 yards down the field. At the high school level, it's not quite that. They can't kick quite that far, and they do lose lineouts, but that's the idea.
And yes, we have SLUH kicking off. Back to the Lions yet again, as the score remains 0 on the scoreboard. And it's a low grubber, fielded by Henry Betts. Henry Betts breaks one tackle, looks to break another. Good offload to Joseph Cadano. Couldn't quite get it off to J.P. Egbat-Perrone on the wing, but a good idea there.
Yeah, an excellent idea. You love to see that. He was looking to, what did he do? He got the offload first of all, so he's supporting, but then he goes and he froze the defender. The defender had to account for him and tackle him. Kept his eyes forward, and he passed out. And the pass didn't connect, but he's playing aggressively down the sideline. Keeps the pressure on the other team. And you weren't here, but we spoke with Coach Vitri about. It's important to make good mistakes, to make mistakes of aggression. As the SLUH lineout goes straight to Ben Blood without him even having to jump, the wind played a little bit of a factor in that. And La Salette is on the attack again.
They have Henry Betts crashing in. And a good quick ruck over. Salette Cruz gets it out to forward. Seamus Hanlon, who pumps those legs and finally gets pulled to ground. Salette Cruz out to Thomas Mackin. Pass out to Andrew Sick a bit low, but he gets his hands on it as he weaves through traffic. And he hands off to Henry Betts.
Nice offload there from Andrew. Just put it on a platter for him.
And now they see the gap. Offloads to the 8-man, McDonald, who makes a good cut on the inside. And that was a good tackle by the SLUH player. Seamus Hanlon plowing through again. Tackle looked kind of high. But in any case, Ben Blood recovers the ball.
And here they come. Henry Betts up the middle.
Looking for an offload.
And
he finds one. Benny Garno.
Oh, another freshman on.
And here he comes down the back to the right side. Again, Thomas Mackin breaks some more tackles, takes it to the middle, and goes down for the try.
So what was great about that play is Thomas Mackin, he gets it out of the off of Garno's crash, and he attacks with his head up and the ball in a position where he can either carry it or pass it. And what happened was the defense, after getting burned before on the outside by JP, the defense paid attention to the outside guys, and so Thomas Mackin just took it in the seam they gave him. It was excellent read from the fly half.
It was a very
Thomas
good
Mackin.
read, especially for a young guy like him. That's what we like to see, considering the game. Just like Joseph Cadana that before, looking for that pass out to JP. We like to see how these little guys are reading the game, and then they'll only grow for when they play varsity.
All right, as Marco Cruz puts another one through, we will. We need to. I think Eli. I think we need to go and move all the equipment back up to be there for the start of the varsity game. So it looks like La Salette has this one well in hand, and we'll pack up our bags here and trek up the hill and be back with you in a few minutes.
Yep.
We'll talk to you then.